What's going on, guys? Welcome on into the Marshals Minutes. I am Tyler Louder. He is Micah Ortiz. We are your play-by-play announcers for the Rapid City Marshals. And here we're going to do a breakdown, review on Saturday night's electric overtime victory over the Wyoming Mustangs. At the end of the show, second half, we're going to preview the upcoming matchups with the Omaha Beef coming up here on Memorial Day. Micah, how are you doing after that fantastic game?
It was a rush of a game. It was probably game of the year. I've never seen football quite like that. Just when we thought the Marshals were down and out, they proved us wrong. Again, Jake Johnson, phenomenal player. He really stepped up after last week's game against Billings. So it is nice seeing quarterback play, especially at that level. It was rather impressive.
Yeah, and Jake the Snake Johnson, as he's referred to over on his Instagram account, really stepped up. He was taking too long to let the play develop against Billings, and he wasn't really leading his receivers or trusting them in the end zone. And then he comes around and he has two 20-plus yard touchdowns. Connor Olson down the sideline, massive play, found him. He could have had another one off of a pass interference call that he just kind of underthrew a little bit. It was a free play, didn't really hurt. But then he also hit McKinley Smith, who came in for Connor Olson, who was hurt, and he mossed a guy in the end zone and just trusting his receivers. On the day, Jake Johnson completed over 70% of his passes. He had over like 200, I think it was like 240 yards total on the ground and in the air. He had 6 passing touchdowns, and then he also had 2 touchdowns on the ground, as well as 2-point conversions. He was playing electric. He was the offensive player of the game. He was a contender for MVP and probably could get MVP in different situations. But realistically, though, him using his legs is something that we really wanted him to do going forward. And him trusting his offense is what we wanted to do. And I think maybe it's that they're trusting him and he's had some more familiarity with them after another game.
Yeah, I think chemistry plays a big part, and it'd be interesting to see if this play is sustainable, because if it is, this offense can run through any defense. But his legs really came clutched at the end of the game. He had the rush touchdown to put us back in it, and then the 2-point conversion too, where he ran it in. So it's a rewarding feeling knowing that you have a true dual threat quarterback, and it's not Demetrius Davis, who was using more of his athleticism to make up plays, but a quarterback who can run and will run and put his team on his back. And it was a rewarding game.
Yeah, 100% it was. And we have to give credit to the Mustangs as well. They decided to come through with, we're going to put it on the ground and pound. We're going to run it. We got Tabius Taylor, running back out of Notre Dame. We talked about how he was so comfortable with his stiff arm. It was so natural. A big, bulky running back that was just bruising on the outside. And he got several touchdowns in this game. His ultimate glory led to their demise, though. We have to kind of highlight. Let's highlight Taylor, though, and how effective he was.
Yeah, he. Everybody knew the ball was going to go to him, and there was nothing really they could do to stop it outside of the game-ending play. But like Tobias Taylor is probably the best running back in the CIF, and he was probably the best player on the field too. Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. They went into the well one more time, and he's met in the hole by Larry Fontelis for the game-ending play. But his glory ended up into their own demise, as he scored too late, if you will, and giving the ball back to the offense that was rather unstoppable for the Marshals.
To give a recap for anybody that didn't see, go back and watch that game. Even if you just fast forward to the fourth quarter, is electric. It was crazy. Just when you thought teams were going to win, it looked like it was 41-42. Rapid City Marshals had the ball with less than 3 minutes. They're going to drive down. Interception by Jake Johnson. One like fatal flaw the whole game. And then 2 running plays in a row. I looked, and head coach Dante Dudley kind of talked about this, is that they kind of opened up the hole on purpose. They wanted to rush on the outside, move the nose tackle away, so that way they would kind of force the Mustangs into scoring. And with about a minute left, Taylor runs in for a touchdown. They get the extra point. Now they have an 8-point lead, but they left a minute on the clock. And off the kickoff, all we needed was 25 yards, and the Marshals did that. Got the touchdown, got the 2-point conversion, sent it to overtime. Electric. So in those situations, I feel like it's a very hard thing to say, hey, just go down, like go on the 1 yard line, because a lot of these guys are playing for those stats. They want to have those stats to push forward and go through. And it's hard when you break a 25 yarder off to just lay down when you hit pay dirt. Now, let's talk about that game winning tackle. Larry Fontelis was all over the place. Assisted and individual tackles had near double digits, multiple pass breakups. I think he only allowed like 1 or 2 catches all game. But yeah, outside the edge, Taylor runs and Fontelis is right there like a dog.
Yeah, and we kept saying on the broadcast too, Larry Fontelis is playing with his hair on fire. If he is determined, he will bring you down eventually. Doesn't matter if it's for a 30-yard gain or if it's a tackle for loss. Larry Fontelis will bring you down eventually. His death taxes and Larry Fontelis' tackling. It helps when you have Antoine Smith also in the backfield too, or as your tackling partner, if you will. So I think those two really combined for a good job, and they called the ball game. Well, I know we called like 3 walk-off plays, but that was the last one, and Antoine Smith and Larry Fontelis came through in the biggest way possible.
Yeah, and Larry Fontelis was interviewed this week. He kind of was like our player spotlight that we did our post-game interview on. You can check that out here on YouTube as well. It's the previous video we got for you guys. But just a quick quote from him right after the game. Larry Fontelis said that, paraphrasing here, is that he saw the wideouts crash down, and number 5 is their best player on their team. The coaches and boys stressed to me that when they crash down, it's going to be a run. We knew with the game on the line, they give the ball to their best player. And in the midst of all of that, he came down and made a big play. Big time players need to make big time plays on big time days. And that's what he did. Now, the Rapid City Marshals finally get out of their losing skid. They're 2-6 now. They're tied for 6th place with the Mustangs. They have a lot more points, though, so tiebreakers are going to come into effect. 2 games left, difficult games. They have a situation where they've got to host the defending champions, Omaha Beef, and then they still have to travel to take on number 1 Sioux City Bandits. But let's talk about this Beef matchup. What are they going to be able to do to compete against Omaha this week?
They have to get pressure underneath the quarterback again. Andrew Jackson, quarterback of the Wyoming Mustangs, the Omaha Beef, is he is leading in. He's first or second in almost every statistical category. We said a couple weeks ago in Billings that if Charles McCollum is the best quarterback, Andrew Jackson is number 1, or he's number 2. So I think getting pressure under him and making him uncomfortable is probably the biggest get. Probably I was on the defense side of the ball, and on the offensive side of the ball, Marshals just have to continue to find this rhythm. Jake Johnson is here to play. He is regrown. This play might not be sustainable at this level, but if they can get just a sliver of the magic he had in the past week's game, I think this game will be really close. And it's hard to do football math and like, well, this team only beat this team by so much, but Omaha Beef has shown vulnerability, and I think this might be considered a trap game for them.
I think it will as well. They're coming off of a week break. Their last game was back on the 14th when they hosted Salina Liberty in that 14-11 defensive standoff. And having that extra week off can do one of 2 things for you. A, you can rest and get healthy, but B, you can kind of lose a little bit of momentum a little bit coming off that bye. The momentum shift in the offense for the Marshals really seems to be clicking. And it wasn't necessarily of a situation where like they're relying on just one guy. The ball was getting spread out. Demetrius Davis, who has been one of the biggest impact players for this Marshals team, was maybe like guy number 4 or 5 on the team this week. And if you add him into the mix a little bit more, it just shows how deep this team is at receiver. Omaha Beef traveling to Rapid City Memorial Day game. There's no predictions from us coming here, but I do think the big thing is that stopping the quarterback, they have to get pressure. We've seen the defense kind of fix itself a little bit, but it's going to be a different element. The quarterback isn't going to run the ball as much, not like Caldwell did, or like they did in Billings, and they're not going to use their running back as much. They have a nice, decent receiving core out there that is going to test these defensive backs.
Yeah, just create and disrupt the rhythm of the Omaha Beef offense. Because the Marshall offense is going to continue to roll. They're so deep right now, and they've finally found sustainable quarterback play in Jake Johnson. So on defense, creating rhythm and creating some costly turnovers as well. They had an interception in against the previous week against Wyoming. So I think creating some costly turnovers and putting the offense back on the field is the best way to win the ball game.
Yeah, and the big threat that they're going to have to look out for through 8 games, Tyler Jones, number 16, wide receiver. He's got 28 catches on the year, which is good for 6th in the conference. He's 327 yards, good for 3rd. He averages about 40 yards per game and about 11 to 12 yards per catch, showing that which is number 1 in the league. And on top of that, he has 7 receiving touchdowns, which is good for 5th in the league. So top 6 in all receiving categories. He's going to be a matchup that we're going to see these defensive backs that they're going to need to watch. They're going to need to just not let this quarterback sit in. I've talked to Corey Henry and I've talked to some other defensive linemen, linebackers, and they've kind of said that they feel confident that if they can get about a 1 to 2 second press coverage and man in the back there for the defensive backs, they can get to the quarterback and create an issue for this Beef team.
Yeah, Corey Henry he's the prototypical edge rusher. He is big, he is long, and he is fast. So I think creating him more opportunities will lead to the eventual success. And especially with Tony Thompson in the middle too. Like if you have interior pass rushing abilities, your team will succeed. So kind of replicating what we saw from Tony and Billings will do well against the Beef.
Yep, and all it is continuity. Continuing on with that great defensive line they got with Gant, Thompson, and Henry up there. But we've seen Robinson step in. We've seen Turner be able to play on that line as well. Lots of different options for him there. That's it for us here this week on the Marshals Minutes with our review of the Mustangs game where the Marshals came out on top 56-55 in overtime thriller. Go watch that game if you're just a fan of football. It's fantastic. You can check us out here on the CIF network as well. We'll be live on Memorial Day as the Rapid City Marshals take on the Omaha Beef. This has been a Mosaic MC Media Communications production, and we'll see you guys next week.